This is Talking Drupal, a weekly chat about web design and development from a group of people with one thing in common. We love Drupal. This is episode 345, live from DrupalCon. Welcome to Talking Drupal. Today we are talking about DrupalCon with Amy June Heinlein and Mike Miles. Amy June is an Aaron Winborn Award winner, Senior Community Manager for OpenSource.com at Red Hat. She works in the Drupal contribution space as a mentor, initiative lead, and runs first-time contributor workshops at the local, regional, and national level. Amy June is also on the CWG Community Health Team. She has a magical life away from Drupal where she enjoys music festivals and gallivanting in the woods looking for lost treasure. Mike Miles is the Director of Web Development at MIT Sloan School of Management, the organizer of the Boston Drupal Meetup and New England Drupal Camp, and a fellow podcaster on the Developing Up podcast. Amy, June, and Mike, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you.
I'm John Picozzi, and today, filling in for Nick Laughlin is Stephen Cross. Stephen, how's it going?
Hey, great. Happy to be here.
And joining us again for his second week, Chris Wells, the Chief Geek at Redfin Solutions. All right, guys, we're going to jump right in. We're all a little bit tired. We've had a good week at DrupalCon. Going to start with our primary topic, jump right into our first question. How has it been at the first in-person DrupalCon in 2 years? What's the atmosphere like? And did it feel safe? Mike, I'm going to shoot it to you first.
Yeah, I felt very safe. I think everyone's done a great job, physically being safe. It's been a lot better than I actually thought it was going to be. Just seeing everyone in person. I feel like the number one thing was having other people to commiserate with over the last 2 years, or just general web problems. Like we talk about it in Zoom and meetups, but like being able to share like an issue you've had with Search API and other people are like, oh yeah, I've been dealing with that too. It's just been so great to have that community again. So it's been good.
Chris, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, perhaps I'm a little more COVID conscious than the norm. So I have not been doing anything after. I have not been going out to the parties and doing a lot of that stuff. I've been getting DoorDash and eating in my room. But, I got 3 kids at home. So a little extra sleep and going to bed early is not something that I do a lot of. So I've been pleased as punch.
Awesome. And last but not least, Amy June.
I felt fine in the conference center. I wear my mask more than other people, and I'm okay with that. After parties, not such a good thing for me. So I've been sticking with my main crew, and doing things with them and feeling safe, and then maybe meeting 1 or 2 other people, because we like to expand the Pac-Man circle. But inside the conference center, I felt perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the biggest, the biggest positive, but biggest takeaway is like being together with people again, right? Like seeing faces and having conversations and not having to be on a Zoom for a conference was awesome. And I mean, I think the Drupal Association did a great job of making everybody feel safe within the conference. After parties were kind of like a special space, and I went to a few, and still didn't feel, there were some people wearing masks, some people not, and still felt okay to me. But I mean, I think the biggest takeaway was that people felt comfortable in the conference, and then people felt comfortable to do what they wanted to outside, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think overall it was great.
Yeah, I wasn't able to be there. And I certainly miss that idea of sitting in sessions. I love live sessions, and certainly being on Zoom has not replaced that on things that I've attended. So that must have been great. I'm curious how the Dries Note was and what you carried away from that talk. I think it's available. I think I saw a tweet with a link to it but I haven't watched it yet. What were your takeaways for that?
Yeah. So for me, it was it was great because Dries talked about like ambitious site builders, and like I feel like I'm an ambitious site builder. Obviously I'm a solutions architect, but like as I said in my talk, I know enough code to be dangerous. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I want to be an ambitious site builder. I am an ambitious site builder. He also talked about smaller core, which I'm interested to see what everybody else thought about, because I was kind of like, yes, they're finally we're going to like get Drupal to be like this smaller thing that, doesn't have like the couple of modules in there that I think probably, aren't necessarily needed. And Nick and I, if you're a listener, you've heard Nick and I go back and forth on that quite a few times. So
what is an ambitious site builder? If you talked about it.
Well, okay. So I think more it was with the tagline being digital experience or whatever it was before. I think making it something like ambitious site building makes it more inclusive, especially for people outside of our community, understanding what a site builder is versus this omnious thing that they were calling it before. So I'm excited that the languaging is more inclusive, but I want to circle back to the core being smaller. What I really appreciated about the Dries Note is they talked about how and why and the pattern they used to decide whether or not a module would stay in core. And it made a lot of sense, and it was very transparent. And because some people are like, but I use that all the time and all these kinds of things. And so I really appreciated the transparency of why some stuff is staying in and why some stuff is leaving.
Yeah, it was like a weighted system, and it felt very felt very cooperative. Like, hey, we weighted these, but like we might adjust this a little bit depending on feedback that we receive.
Yeah. So what's the biggest shock there of the modules that are going away? Is there one?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think that's why they're going away.
Okay, good. That's what I would think.
Yeah. We were having a discussion in the general contribution room today about forum, and who has used forum to build a forum in a while. And
right,
yeah. And he said there are some that maybe their little balancing scale doesn't quite lean hard in one direction. The examples he gave were the ones that were very obvious. But it's not disappearing. It's just moving to Contrib. And they're setting up a succession plan to make sure that there's a maintainer who is willing to maintain that in Contrib. And so I think it's a really good, it's just a natural flow. And this goes along with the higher element of the Dries Note, which is about getting a little bit back to Drupal's roots of being a low code or no code solution. That's what an ambitious site builder is, someone who can spin up this platform and build something. It's something more than Squarespace or more than Wix. That's where the ambitious part comes in, but it's more person-centered. And I really appreciated that as well. It's an ambitious digital experience is a thing, but an ambitious site builder, that's a person. And I like, that we're bringing that human connection back to Drupal and tying that in.
Yeah,
go ahead. Amy June, go ahead.
Well, and having some of the initiatives that are moving forward that really makes it possible for site builders to remain site builders and not have to worry about what's config and what's code, like automatic updates and project browser and things like that. So that's exciting that, like, yes, we talked about these things in the past, but they actually are coming to fruition and they're almost there. So that's exciting too about that site building experience.
Yeah, my saying was, when all is said and done, they're all easy out of the box initiatives. That's the idea. Let's get Drupal to an easier point to use. And I think it's ambitious and I like it.
Mike, so what about you? You have anything to add there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because when I heard Dries' thing on the ambitious site builder, as someone who isn't a site builder, right, more of a developer, I know that wouldn't really change what I do as much, but I'm thinking through it, how it's going to continue the option to open up Drupal to more people or to make it more usable. I think of my editorial staff who do a lot of work in them being able to control a lot more, a lot easier, it's going to be better for my team in the long run. So it's just going to be more inclusive for people, which I'm excited to see. All the initial, like project browser and all that stuff that's behind it. So
yeah,
inspiring.
I saw that Mike was giving a great session this afternoon that was super geeky and technical, and very much what a lot of people come to DrupalCon for, getting that super geeked out stuff. Did anyone else see any really good sessions? I spent almost no time in sessions. So
I'm very excited about my favorite session. So I'm going to go first. It actually didn't happen at the conference hall. It was in the hotel with Angie and Lori and Christina, when they pushed the button and made Claro into core as default. And that was the most exciting thing I had seen during DrupalCon. So that was very exciting in watching them do all of the things and pushing the buttons and the 5 minutes and that kind of thing. But I'm like Chris, well, maybe I didn't hear. I don't go to a lot of sessions. I'm in the hallway a lot. But yeah, seeing that in action was kind of fun.
So that actually made it into the Dries Note. That was another great highlight of the Dries Note. As far as sessions go, it's interesting because the two sessions, and this is probably true for a lot of people, I would imagine, but the two sessions that I found really great were the two sessions that directly relate to the project work that I'm doing right now. So I'm working with Layout Builder, and there was a session about site building with Layout Builder, and it gave the audience some great ideas on add-ons to Layout Builder that would make the UI better and the experience better for people building pages with Layout Builder. So that was definitely one. And then honestly, Mike Miles's talk about semantic versioning with Git was great, because that's something that I'm going to have to do soon, and I needed to know a little bit more about it. And Mike really made it easy to understand and approachable and fun. So those are all great things in my opinion. So I think those two were my big takeaways.
I'm curious if anyone knows when the sessions are going to be released.
They've been doing them like every day.
Well, typically, and I think this is the case, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a ticket, you're given a code and you'll have access to them, but usually it's 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're released on Vimeo first, and you get a code, and then the Dries Note was, of course, released right away.
Yeah, I got to stream the Dries Note. I wasn't quite sure if I was supposed to do that, but at some point, Tim Lennon said, "Thank you, Chris Wells, for bootleg streaming the Dries Note." And so I was like, "Phew, I'm not in trouble."
It's always a good feeling, right?
Yeah.
Mike, any sessions that stood out to you?
The two that stood out to me was Matt and Gaber gave one on Drupal 9, getting ready for Drupal 10. Which I liked it because just it showed the progress and the tools we built to go from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9, and the continued like Rector and all that stuff, and the continuation of that, so that there's going to be a lot more coverage for going from Drupal 9 to Drupal 10 or Drupal 8 to Drupal 10. So that a lot of information. It was really great. And then the one from the people from CK Editor on CK Editor 5, I stepped out of that one just like, oh, there's all these so cool features. I can't wait to like. I'm never excited about WYSIWYG. Like when anyone tells me they need a WYSIWYG editor, right, I roll my eyes. But now I'm just like, yes, like here's a great thing to do with it. So there's a lot of really cool things coming, and got me excited.
So
yeah, I heard CK Editor 5 has a kind of a standing ovation vibe, I think.
So that's a great segue into our next question. Dries in his Dries Note talked about Drupal 11, right? Way, but I'm wondering, what excites you guys for the next year of Drupal? And Chris Wells, I think I'm going to start off with you, because I feel like you've got some stuff that you might be excited about.
Yeah, I am absolutely biased, but I'm super excited about how prominently Project Browser sort of featured during the Dries Note as one of these core initiatives towards getting this sort of low code solution. I'm excited to be at the forefront of that. And it generated some good excitement. I was, a little late to come record because some new contributors had showed up that wanted to get into it. I've helped 3 or 4 people get, credit and get a fixed issue in at this DrupalCon. And so I'm just very excited, but I'm so excited at the way that all of these initiatives are interplaying and working with each other. So we were able to take one of these new contributors and have him talk to Ted Bowman about how to, connect the automatic updates initiative with Project Browser and to spearhead that initiative so that you get one-click installs from the Project Browser. So I'm really excited to learn more, talk to these people inside the Drupal community and get, move not just my initiative forward, but really the strategy that Dries laid out forward.
Cool. Anybody else have anything they're excited to see in the coming year with Drupal?
I am. Y'all know I'm part of the mentoring team, and lowering the barriers to entry is sometimes kind of ebbs and flows, and we're on a flow transition. So I'm very excited about the new work on Simply Test Me, but also with the work on Drupal Pod and really honing in the skills and teaching everyone the merge request process. And as we dial in those tools, we're also using them for things like project browser testing and things like that. So we kind of had this dry run this year of tools that we hadn't used before when we taught how to do code contributions. And so it's very exciting to kind of use this as beta testing and kind of re-roll and learn some of the things and improve the tools before Europe.
For the next year at Drupal, I'm most excited for the re-emergence of the community. It really started with Florida Camp, like being able to come back in person and safely and slowly get back to that, where those local communities are getting back together as well, because then it's a great introduction, right? I forget who mentioned it. I think it was in the keynote today, where it starts local. And so being able to bring these communities back, it's just, I think next year we're going to see hopefully a huge, even bigger turnout DrupalCon and just going forward, just people being able to get together again, do contribution days and stuff like that. So
in addition to exciting Drupal things, did you guys see any new technology that was interesting at the conference?
Brand new. I'm trying to think. I mean, the cutting edge, the CK Editor 5 demo was very hot.
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about Drupal Pod. And I'm pretty excited about where we're headed with GitLab. I think that as I've been helping these people contribute, the somewhat archaic nature of contributing to Drupal, the issue queue, some of these obscure things are going to just drift away. Someone who is very interested in contributing is like, wait, but where's the backlog? Where are the issues? How do I know what to work on and what needs to be done and where are the designs? And I feel like there's so many great opportunities for GitLab to solve those problems by rolling us into a new modern workflow that I think it's going to really take off. So while not a new technology, GitLab is a rapidly growing piece of software, and us embracing it, I think, is really out of this world. I've been working on moving Project Browser from Drupal CI to GitLab CI for most of this conference, and I'm super excited about all the possibilities of that.
Yeah, I will say it's not necessarily new, but Ruth Cheesley, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, did basically a demo / workshop for Mautic with Gitpod in an hour, and it was great. The only gotcha there was kind of the conference Wi-Fi was made it a little hard to kind of get going, but it was so great to see people in a room able to get a working demo up and running in an hour and be able to play with it and do things. So not necessarily a new, well, I don't know, I guess Gitpod is or Drupal Pod is a newer technology.
We talked about Gitpod on episode 312, if you're not familiar with what that is.
So of all this stuff that everyone has seen, heard, what are you going to run home and do, or what are you going to like check out on the plane home, or what's the thing you're into?
I am excited that automated updates has some beta testing available. So I'm looking forward to kind of giving that a drive through and giving some input, because again, that's a very exciting thing for our site building experience. But that Ted Bowman has the instructions like really laid out and makes it really easy to contribute and collaborate with. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think I'm gonna try the Mautic demo on my own, because I didn't actually follow along with them as they were doing it. So I'm gonna do that and get that up and running so I can have a kind of a test ground for that. And I'm also gonna help Chris Wells with a category spreadsheet for Project Browser, because I started doing that in a BOF and at Contrib, and I think I'm gonna keep going.
I think I'm going to, if I can get it on my laptop before I get in the airplane, is just getting the latest alpha, or is it beta for Drupal 10 that's available after all, just to see what's going to break. I'm excited to see that. I was excited to do it from Drupal 8 to Drupal 9, but I really want to see like how close are we already. I'm excited for that. And then I just wanted to share an anecdote. Was for my team, it was their first time coming to DrupalCon. And hearing one of my developers come out, and he wanted to, what was it for? I think it was for Drupal 10 too. And he's like, oh, I can't wait to test this and do Rector and see where our site is. Like, to hear that, how excited they were for that. It's like, yes, that's what the point of bringing you is for.
Yeah.
It's another thing that I feel like being together again, like that excitement is infectious, and like it, makes other people excited to try things, and you don't necessarily get that from the digital. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you want to say infectious, John. Just, we haven't seen the fallout yet. Maybe you could choose.
It's funny you say that, because literally after I said it, I was like, well, I could have picked a better word there in my head. And I was just hoping nobody'd call me out on it. But you know what? I'm glad.
No, that's why I'm here. I'm here for you, John.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Amy June, you talked about mentoring a little bit earlier on, but I wanted to ask you specifically how mentoring has been going at DrupalCon.
It has been fantastic. This is our first DrupalCon since using some new tools. We're no longer teaching patching. And so the first time contributor workshop was kind of really spiced up a bit, teaching people merge requests and, the new tools and that kind of thing. So that's been kind of nice. There's been a learning curve for mentors, which was accelerated, right? But I think it's been going fantastic. We had some people mentor in the mentoring room yesterday who were learning how to do the tool, how to do everything, but today asked if they could help mentor. So that's a really positive experience. And so a lot of these relationships we made online, we had a mentoring summit and we had like some recruitment and thing, and we're meeting each other in person and creating that rapport among the team. And that was really exciting too, just having the mentoring team come together. And then we had projects that we had been helping working on, like Project Browser and automated updates, and everything just sort of came in line and was this really smooth experience between initiatives and empowering and enabling new contributors to join initiatives versus one-off patches. That way we could introduce them to how exciting continued contributions went. So it's been really, I've been having a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Interesting that you mentioned, that you're in the mentored contribution space and you're able to teach the issue fork workflow and how great that is. And I have to say that the sort of more seasoned vets who came up to the general contribution area, I had to do the same thing because they were coming up and they're like, all right, so where do I put this patch? And I said, you don't. Let me show you what to do. So, that's valuable information to get out there for everyone.
Well, and I think we're going to change up the languaging a little bit and be more inclusive to our more seasoned developers. So when we do the workshops in Prague, be like, hey, we have this new workflow, come learn how to do this. And it's not just about that novice, it's about relearning or learning the new
refresher.
tools, right? And we might like maybe break it into 2 sections. I don't know, but that's something that we've found too. Was some of the mentors were like last week going, "Okay, I'm mentoring next week. How do you do this?"
Yes.
But we're human, and so also like learning the process with the mentees is perfectly fine. We had a couple of tables like that, and that's rewarding for the mentor too, to know that they can break down those barriers and let people know that they're human. But yeah,
was there a session that covered that process, the new workflow?
The first time contributor workshop. I don't think that they had, like Tim and Neil had gone around the local circuit and had been giving a talk, but I didn't see that here because that was kind of for the first time contributor workshop. But what's nice about the first time contributor workshop is Chris Stark's been working on that, and he has videos segmented. So if you don't want to do the whole workshop, you can just watch the segmented part for merge requests specifically and not learn, how do you change the metadata. So that's been kind of a new development for the workshop too.
Yeah,
I know.
There was a good session about high level, all the modern tooling that's sort of coming to Drupal, but it was, a lot of different pieces around GitLab issues, GitLab merge request workflow, and there was so there was nothing that really was like modern tooling for, and that might be a great idea for Proud.
Yeah, so I know Tim came to Drupal Providence and did a kind of an overview of the workflow. So we can put that video in the show notes for folks if they're interested.
So a few of you did some sessions. Did everyone do a session there? So how'd your sessions go? Mm-hmm. Chris is saying no. So how did everybody's sessions go?
So all of you have met me. I like to talk. And I was offered a 20-minute lightning talk. And I was how am I going to do this? So I gave a talk on at the nonprofit summit. So that session won't be available online later, but I'm giving it next week at Stanford WebCamp, and they're going to record it and put it online. But I talked about how when we make our websites secure, we're not always being accessible when we do it. So I talked about how different security things can mess up accessibility and what you can do to make your security more accessible. And that was fun. And then I believe you folks had us on Drupal Providence for the Simply Test Me. And I spoke with Matt and Adam a little bit about more the future of Simply Test Me. It was an iteration on what we had done in Providence. And that was fun. Someone fell asleep in the back, but it was after lunch, so I'll forgive them.
And after Mike.
Yeah, I had one on, and John mentioned it earlier, on semantic versioning and using Git tags. And as tends to be my MO for some reason, I was the last session slot of the last day, which is after lunch the last day. It can be a little hard, but the room was packed. I was honestly surprised. So people seem to get a lot out of it. I mean, it's definitely a format that all the Drupal packages use, all the modules use, Drupal core uses. So just understanding the number system, thought would be helppful. And actually one of my coworkers, his first time at DrupalCon, we were at the Higher Ed Summit and he gave a lightning talk. We were asked to do one, and he jumped into that. So I was excited to see that too. Just first time here and jumped all in on it. It was great.
That's great.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What about you, John?
We were all after lunch. Everybody was in that 1 o'clock spot, huh? Interesting. I really enjoyed my talk. For all the feedback was positive. Was talking about non-code contribution and how you can use your skills and passion and how that powers open source. And had some really good questions, which was awesome. It's always good to get good questions. People interested in how they can kind of like get involved, or how they can bring it back to their agency to get their agency more involved, which was good. Overall, I think it went well.
Yeah, we have a lot of opportunities for non-code contributions in Project Browser. Wanted to make sure I plugged that. It's a great way to just sort of ease yourself in, but it's also like we're doing very, very important work. Like the Project Browser success hinges so much on the data on Drupal.org being good. And we just need people to comb through the thousands of modules, starting with the first 100, and update those descriptions and get some logos and tag things properly and really look at stuff that people haven't looked at in a long time, especially on these really popular modules. So a lot of good opportunity for that.
So
I was
Chris,
actually
how
really
would someone
happy
get
that
started with that? How would someone get started? They were interested in doing some non-code contribution for you or for that project.
Probably the best opportunity is our Tuesdays at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Oh, I hope I'm right. 4 p.m. Eastern time, asynchronous Slack meetings. That is the sort of site builder subcommittee meeting of Project Browser. That's definitely your entry point. And then, we have a bunch of different issues that people can work on, and Leslie's overseeing that in that meeting. So, yeah. But yeah, I was happy that I did not have to present. It was nice to, I saw so many people like kind of worrying and having that sort of Damocles hanging over their head. Poor Brian Perry, who had a Thursday talk, and he's like, those late talks, you like, at least if you're early, you're over with it, and then you don't have to worry about it. So I was really happy that I didn't have to do that. And I spent so much of my time in the general contribution area. Almost, I'd say 80-90% of my conference time was spent there, boots on the ground, kind of working on Project Browser, moving issues forward. And that was great because I got to meet a lot of people in this community. To be honest, I was a little starstruck. I got to sit next to Neil Drum, who has been around forever, and, talk to him as a peer and talk about the, ways that we're going to solve some of these problems. I got to meet Ryan Eslet, Mixologic, and then all the people who came up to contribute, people who had been, someone who was new to Drupal for a year, but was, been an software engineer for a very long time, a couple of decades, great. And that's the opportunity. I had to kind of meet people because I'm super introverted and I prefer when people come to me. But who did you all meet that are maybe a little bit more extroverted than I? Was there anyone that you bumped into that was like super, cool to meet, or doing something neat?
I got a handshake from Dries as I got off the elevator.
All right.
Dries asked me if he could write an article for opensource.com. I said no. So,
yeah, makes sense. Yeah. It's the only logical answer.
No, that was fun though. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, my non-Dries answer is so I work in higher ed, and I've only worked in higher ed for 2 years now. So it was my first higher ed summit. But going to the summit and meeting everyone else in the higher ed sphere was been really awesome. Like, I met some people from UPenn and UC Berkeley and Harvard, which, I work at MIT. Harvard's basically right down the street. So one of the things I wanted to do is start getting into this community because everyone was dealing with the same issues. And I think you probably found that the other summits are just getting together with people here, right? Like I said earlier, it's a chance to commiserate and then come together to solve a problem together. Like, me and my team, issues that other higher eds were dealing with that we already solved. So we were able to share that knowledge where there wasn't any good conduit for it. So just meeting that community was really interesting for me.
So yep. I actually ran booth duty most of my time here, and I actually met a lot of people. But I think the folks that stood out to me, and I didn't necessarily only meet these people in the booths, but also at social events, were, scholarship recipients and Discover Drupal folks. Every conversation I had with them, it was just like you could see the passion and the excitement in their eyes, and it was great. I had a conversation with one person. They were coming from a hospitality background. They wanted to get into technology, and they had gotten a scholarship to come to DrupalCon. And I'm like, that's fabulous. And like, he was going around working the expo floor, talking to people. And it was awesome. It was really awesome to see that, like, we are bringing new people in, and like, we're embracing them with open arms, and that, they're excited to be here. They're excited to learn. They're excited to contribute. So, I mean, I think that's super awesome.
So what would you say was your number one takeaway from DrupalCon this year? You only
Mine
get
was
one.
Mine was 5 pounds because I ate more donuts that's healthy that any person should eat in a week, let alone a year.
So just a little context to that. Portland has quite a few very good donut shops. And
Really?
I think after the first day, I don't know who started the charge, but one of the expo, one of the sponsors on the expo floor decided to get a couple dozen donuts and start handing them out. And that started like a kind of a cascade effect where other people got more donuts. So like every day it was like one person was trying to one up the other with like more donuts.
Yeah, at least 3 booths had donuts from 3 different places. So if you hit it at the right time, you're getting 3 donuts a day that you shouldn't, but
My number one takeaway was I've been working with the Discover Drupal students since July of last year and meeting them and seeing that excitement. My biggest takeaway is like, I usually always try to be invitive and welcome everyone and smile and have open arms and start conversations. But it reinvigorated that, you know what I mean? Because these people were so excited and were just like little sponges. Well, not little, I don't want to be reductive, but they just were sponges. And it's super cool. So that takeaway is like, whatever we've been doing for building community is working. And like, if all of us can kind of like greet one new person and have that conversation that really helps them out, then we've done our job in Drupal.
Yeah, I think for me, it was knowing that I was speaking about non-code contribution and that non-code contribution is important to me, and is a big part of my Drupal journey. Like hearing the different points throughout the week where people talked about non-code contribution and how important it was to the project and how much how important community is in general. And like, it really just made me feel like we're all doing really important work and we're all building a really amazing community where, we're being very inclusive to a wide variety of people with a wide variety of skills. And we're really using those skills to make not only the software, but the community better.
Yeah, I have nothing but love for the Discover Drupal students. I'm interjecting a shout out. They've been instrumental to the success we've had in Project Browser. They're so wonderful. Probably my biggest takeaway, the biggest one, is Dries's vision in the Dries Note for the strategy and where Drupal is headed and how, again, biased, but how I fit into that puzzle it was super critical for me to understand like the importance of what we're doing and why, and, to be more inclusive is like a real thing that I can get behind, enabling more people to use Drupal is something that I love. But my most niche, like kind of bullet takeaway was the one session I went to that my business partner, Patrick, said, go to this one, was this morning after I did the meditation. And then it was sort of about a technical strategist. And it was like a real light bulb at the end. They said, any discussion or any comments on this? And I said, thank you for telling me what I am. Like, I do all of these things. Thank you for sort of bundling this together and being like, this is the job that you do as a technical strategist. And so that was really nice to kind of be like, oh, that's me. Like, that's my role in my company.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap things up here with a little bit of a softball, hopefully a softball question. We'll see. Was super excited to get back to DrupalCon to get new t-shirts and other stuff. I'm wondering what the best swag item that you all got was. So Amy June, I'm gonna shoot that one to you first.
Okay, so I'm glad I had this in my backpack. I actually did not get any swag in the expo hall because reasons, right? But somebody made me a hat and I'm so excited about it. It's a little
Oh, that's awesome.
Grateful Dead Volkswagen. So that was really cool.
cool.
And person I'd never met before. And she said, "Thank you, Aaron Winborn Award winner, Amy June Heinlein. I guess she's seen me on some podcasts or something." And she handed me that hat. So that's the best piece of swag I got.
That's
You all can try to top that if you
no
want.
one's topping that.
Nope. Might as well
So
just
here-
pack it in.
Here's the thing about swag. It stands for stuff we all get.
Oh,
And we don't all get a customized hat, I have to say. So you've really blown it out of the water here.
you can strive, like, just, up your game a little. I bet you'll get one next year.
I've got to contribute as much as you, and I'll see if anyone brings me a hat. And I don't know that I can.
So, Chris Wells, what about you? Did you get anything good?
Let me say, first of all, I was so happy about the amount of stuff that I was able to get rid of not get rid of, but let me tell you this. I brought a lot of swag, like Redfin swag, to hand out. And I had to make sure that it was not in my bag, because I went to Powell's last night to buy books for the family, and like $180 and 9 books later, I need to have room in my bag for these things. So yeah, I'm psyched for everyone that got some stuff. I felt like my thunder was stolen a little bit when I brought donuts to the contribution room on Tuesday. But what did I get? I would say that I have never gotten until this year a Pantheon shirt off the press, off the t-shirt, off the screen printer. So this is my first year actually getting one of those, because traditionally the lines have been insane for that. So I got that, and I got some jelly beans that Adam Bergstein was throwing around the general contribution room, and those were very good. Jelly bellies. I had a couple of those. It was perfect for when you needed that to get over that afternoon slump. So that's what I got, and I was excited for both of those things.
There you go. Mike Miles, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go back with donuts again, because unlike Chris, I planned ahead and I actually packed empty Tupperware in my suitcase with nothing in it, so that I would know I would have room to bring donuts back to the family from Portland. So I have to go buy them. But besides the regular, t-shirts and socks, I'm excited to bring back some voodoo dolls.
I have to say, where are you? Are you going to do voodoo? Are you going to do Blue Star? Where are you?
I'm going to go voodoo, just because I promised my wife a voodoo doll, which is a jelly donut shaped like a person. My kids want sprinkle donuts, so I get those anywhere. But if I'm going to go to one donut place, I'm just going to go to one donut place.
I hope for your family's sake that those make it through TSA without being eaten. Well, I appreciate everybody jumping on a call late in the day towards the end of DrupalCon. Amy June, Mike, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you have questions or feedback, you can reach out to Talking Drupal on Twitter with the handle Talking Drupal, or you could email us at show@talkingdrupal.com. You can also connect with our hosts and other listeners on the Drupal Slack on the Talking Drupal channel. If you're interested in show news, upcoming camps, local meetups, Chad's Book Corner, you can sign up for our newsletter, talkingdrupal.com/newsletter.
You can promote your Drupal community event on Talking Drupal. Learn more at talkingdrupal.com/TD promo. And
thanks to our patrons who support us monthly. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can learn more about becoming a patron at talkingdrupal.com and choose that Become a Patron button.
Okay. If folks wanted to get a hold of you, Amy June, how could they go about doing that?
Volkswagen chick across all of the things.
Hence the hat, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Miles, what about you?
Mike Miles 86 across all the things, or mike-miles.com.
Chris Wells.
Chris from Redfin on all the things. Personal blog at chrisfromredfin.dev. And most importantly, find me in the project-browser channel on Drupal Slack to come contribute to the strategic initiative.
Stephen, nice of you to join us. Don't be a stranger. Where can people find you?
Behind the keyboard here at Talking Drupal, and at Stephen Cross with a PH on the things.
on the things. There you go. And I'm John Picozzi. You can find me on all the major social networks and Drupal.org at John Picozzi. And you can find out more about EPAM at epam.com.
And if you've enjoyed listening, we've enjoyed talking.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.